Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Adora one more time. Recently someone sent me an email. A lady sent me an email and she was actually asking if she could come to the UK, relocate to the UK with her children. She says she's got 2 children under the ages of 2. Like the first child is actually 2 years old and the second one is 1 year and some months, and she wants to relocate as a single mother. Now, my response to her was that, I asked her exactly how old are the children. She told me, and she was actually asking like if she can work with the children involved. And I said to her, well, it all depends on if you can have someone to look after them, if you can afford childcare. Like, since you are coming alone as a single parent, I can really tell you it's not going to be as easy as you think. Unless you can afford the childcare, unless you can afford to pay someone to look after your kids, unless you can afford to find a childminder that will take care of your kids while you go to work. But the funny part of it is that childcare in this country is not a joke. You must be ready to release a huge amount of money to sort out childcare for one child. Now imagine when you have 2 children. So be very prepared if you are thinking of relocating into the country with children. Now, the problem I have with this particular aspect of relocation is that coming into the UK, relocating to the UK with children is not a joke. You know, there's something that a lot of people usually don't consider when they're relocating. There are 2 things I always think people should put into serious consideration before you relocate. The first one is the purpose. What's your purpose for traveling out? What's the reason? What's your intention? What do you plan to achieve? And how do you plan to achieve that? And do you have the means to achieve that? And when I mean the means to achieve it, not the financial means, do you have what it takes to achieve what you are going to achieve? Now, like if you're coming into the country as a single mother and you are thinking of going to school, maybe you're coming to the country as a student and you're also coming with your children. These are kids who need to be attended to when you're not there. For instance, when you go to school. So what's the plan for those kids when you are not at home, when you are going to school? Who is going to look after them for you? Do you have a family member who is ready to help you out with the children? Or do you have somebody you're ready to pay to look after the kids? And now, even if you have somebody you're ready to pay to look after the kids, do you have the financial means to pay the person to look after the kids in the country where you are only allowed to work 20 hours? Now, 20 hours of work in this country is nothing. It's just pocket money. It's just the money you can maybe spend for transport and all of that. It cannot even, in most cases, it cannot even pay your rent. Especially when you come with children, you need bigger house, bigger space. It cannot pay your rent. So what is the plan you have in place to achieve that thing which you're going to do in the country? For instance, in UK. And especially when you have kids involved. The second thing to consider is the consequences of what you're about to do, of the plan you're about to take. Now, the consequences include, and is not limited to, when you get to the country of your choice and you discover that, oh, I'm supposed to go to school today, I have classes today, or I have lectures today, but because of my kids, if I go to school, who will look after them? Okay, let me cancel for today. And maybe you do that the first time. The second time you do that again, the third time you do that again, you are indirectly and directly affecting your studies. There's an extent to which you will make so much cancellations. The school will even begin to ask, maybe start wondering if you are really there for school or there's something else you are doing. And by the time you miss lectures, you miss classes for a very long time, you might have problems with immigration, because in the first place, the immigration allowed you to come in for the purpose of that school. So these are the consequences of you should put into consideration, just in case I'm not able to meet up with what I am going to do. What are the next plans I have to take? What is the next step I have to take? But unfortunately, a lot of people do not put all these things into consideration. The excitement and the buzz is always about, I'm relocating, I'm moving. And they make all of these plans without having a plan B. Now, if you're coming into the country with children as a single parent, my dear, it's not going to be easy. That's just the plain truth. It's not going to be easy, even if you can afford childcare. Now, when I say even if, I mean For instance, you can afford childcare for one child. Let's say you're only coming in with one child, and it's manageable. When you're coming into the country with one child, you can still navigate some hurdles. You can still manage. You can still like, okay, fine, I afford to like squeeze out some pounds and maybe okay, pay for childcare for that one child. But when you now have like 2, 3, it's hard. Childcare in this country is a money-making machine on its own, so it's going to definitely eat deep into your pocket. So a mother of like 2, 3 or 4 children coming in alone as the sole carer of those children, you cannot compare yourself to a mother of one child. Now, that notwithstanding, if you come into the country with all of those children and you have family who live around and who is ready to help from time to time, then lucky you. But on the other hand, it doesn't really work that way, or rather it doesn't always work that way, because the same people you will put your mind or your hope on, they're going to help me with my children when I go there, and all of these people to work. Everybody is trying to make ends meet, so nobody's just going to sit down there and waiting for you to bring your children for them to look after for you for free, unless you have something to also pay them. Secondly, not everybody who even wants to look after these children for you might have the conducive environment to look after these kids. Some people might be squatting with friends, some family members might live in very tight situations, and then for you to now bring your own children and add to them is like, a huge inconvenience. So these are things you should very, very much put into consideration. You should think of before relocating. Now, in the issue of this woman's case, you're relocating all the way from home to the UK. You're definitely coming in maybe with your work visa or your student visa, whichever one it is. Coming in with any of these visas does not guarantee you in any way a British citizenship. It doesn't guarantee you permanent visa, a permanent residence for now. So while you're coming in with that, your student visa or your work visa, you are not in any way entitled to government support, like financial support. So when you come into the country and you're not in any way entitled to all of this, what happens when you are not able to work? And at that point, you need some sort of help, like financial help. Maybe you need money in one way or the other. You just need something, some kind of support, and you can't get it, maybe because you've not been able to get a job immediately, or you're even working, but the money is not enough to cover certain needs. What do you do? How do you do this? Now, what happens when you also have your job? For example, you have a job already, and you cannot cover some shifts, or you cannot attend some, you can't go to work on certain days because you don't have childcare on that particular day. There is nobody to look after your kids when you're at work or when you're at school, and then you have to call off that particular day to look after your kids. What happens? That's why I said, coming into the country with children, I would say it's a no-no. As a single mother, as a single parent, as the sole carer of your children, it is not easy. It is much easier as a couple. When a man and a woman come into the country with their children, life is easier. Honestly speaking, life is much easier. Now, I know we are used to this idea of having people around us, back home in Nigeria, for instance, when you have your aunties, uncles, cousins, you have grandmas, you have everybody around you that can always help. They can always help you with house chores, they can help you with the children. But this living in this part of the world is a total contrast from what we have back home. It's just all man to himself. Nobody is helping. Nobody has time for you because everybody is also busy in one way or the other trying to fix themselves. So when you come into the country with your husband or with your wife, I tell you that is when you will actually enjoy the country better, because here it's all about sharing. It's all about helping each other. When you want to go to work as a man, when you go to work, your wife is there with the children, helping look after the kids. Maybe when you come back, she goes to work. This is just how we do things in this part of the world. It's not a matter of, I am the sole provider of this home, so only me I will be the only one to work while you sit at home. Some people do that, the housewife thing, But because of the situation of the world these days, the economic situation, everything is expensive, life is becoming tougher and tougher by the day. It is no longer a situation whereby people sit at home and do the housewife thing. It's no longer a situation whereby the men only shoulder huge responsibilities. In this part of the world, it's more or less like a 50-50 thing. You bring in, the family runs smoothly. So that's one of the reasons why I said it is easier for couples to manage and live and survive in a foreign land than single parents. It is much more easier, especially when you now have them that young. Now, even if you have kids and these kids are like above 18, they are already adults, so these ones can take care of themselves. But once they are below 18, once they are still underage, my dear, you have a lot in your hands. It's not going to be very easy for you. That's just the main truth. Now, I watched a video recently on Facebook, and it was about this lady who lives in the UK already. She has 4 children in the UK, and she came alone. She didn't come with her husband. And now the woman was lamenting exactly the same thing. She was really frustrated. She was complaining of the stress, what it takes her alone as a single mom to raise the kids, because it's not like she doesn't have a husband. She has a husband who is back home, who refused to relocate with her. So in the eyes of everyone here, in the eyes of the government, she is a single mother as long as she is not living with her husband. You are only regarded as a couple when maybe you live together in the house, or your partner, or even if you're not married but you're living together. Yes, then people see you as, yes, you are in a sort of relationship or whatever, you have a help. But whereby you live alone with the children, you are a single mother. It doesn't matter whether you are married back home or not. In the eyes of everyone here, you are regarded as a single mother because you are the sole carer of the children. Now, that is one big point for you to consider before moving into the country, before relocating as a single mother. Bear it at the back of your mind that it might not be a smooth ride, because there's a lot of responsibilities that will fall on your shoulder, which you might find very difficult to navigate. Moving into the country with children as a single parent might hinder your chances of working, your chances of getting a job, and your chances of feeding yourself, taking care of yourselves financially. Moving into the country as a single parent might disturb you mentally. When I mean mentally, it is not easy to raise children alone in this part of the world, because there's a lot that comes with raising kids. Sometimes you need rests. Sometimes as a parent, you yourself, you just want to rest, you just want to sleep. You don't want to have anything to do with the kids at that moment. All you want to do is to just lay down your head and have a good sleep. But when you remember that you have children to feed, remember that, man, if I doze off, this child might start crying, these children might do something dangerous to themselves, you keep awake. And when you starve or deprive yourself of rest for so long, it begins to affect you mentally and psychologically. So that is one very important factor to consider before you move into the country, before you relocate out of wherever you are and going to wherever you want to. Bear it at the back of your mind that going in as a single parent might not be as easy as you expect. Thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye.